What's up, guys? Welcome to G Whiskey. My name is Jeff. This is a channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions on specific whiskey, and once in a while I'll throw in other whiskey-related content as well. If that sounds interesting, hit subscribe down below. And with that out of the way, let's jump into it. Today I want to do a list with you guys. I've got 5 whiskeys that are great for springtime. Stick around. Alright, so it's officially springtime, and that means warmer weather, and while this doesn't need to be the case, and honestly isn't always the case for me, this is the time of year where some of us start gravitating towards a different style of whiskey. Obviously that's speaking broadly, but yeah, this is the time of year where a lot of us find ourselves putting down the peat monsters and the sherry bombs in favor of something maybe a little bit lighter, cleaner, maybe more gentle in character. So that's the focus of today's video. I want to go over 5 whiskeys that I think are great for springtime. And I'll probably do another list when summer rolls around. Those whiskeys will be lighter still, so I'm not going for like the brightest or the cleanest whiskeys out there. I'll save those for the summer list. What I've got here is whiskeys that aren't too heavy, but still have a little bit of weight or edge. You know, much like the spring season, they're not too extreme in any direction, but they are all delicious. All of these are whiskeys that I've got here in my collection that I thoroughly enjoy. I plan on spending more time with them as the days get warmer, and they're 5 different whiskeys with 5 different categories. So I'm going to categorize them by the style. I've got an entry-level pick, I've got an 18-year-old pick, I have a premium pick, I have an Irish pick, and I have a limited edition pick. So there should be something for everyone in here. These are not in any particular order. And listen, I'm not saying these are the 5 best whiskeys for spring. That's not even a thing that exists. You're going to drink what you want when you want. I'm just saying that among the whiskeys I've got, these are 5 that match the season. And as I said, I'm spending a little bit more time with them these days. Also, I have a mystery pour in my glass here. It's another great springtime whiskey, so make sure you stick around after the list. I'll let you know what that is, and that's it. So why don't we just jump into our list, and in the meantime, if you can kindly leave a like down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. So this isn't going to be a super obvious list. I don't think you guys will see most of these whiskeys coming, although you might have if I'd gone with my first choice here. Initially, for my entry-level pick, I was going to go with the Arran 10. But that one's a little bit too popular these days. Everyone's talking about it, so I went with something that's still popular, but slightly less popular. This one, it was my whiskey of the year last year for 2021, Craigellachie 13. This stuff is unpretty, it's dirty, it's rugged, it's not too heavy of a whiskey despite having a more challenging character. We've got fruitiness in here, pineapple, caramel, toffee, there's some meaty, savory notes even in there. This is a gem of a whiskey, and it's got loads of personality. Like, this is too much of a bourbon-forward character to, like, warm your bones in winter, but it's also a little bit too, like, rugged and challenging to be a summer sipper, a light, clean summer sipper. So I do think spring makes sense here. And, you know, this one isn't going to be for everyone. Again, it's a little bit of a difficult whiskey, but as far as I'm concerned, this is one of my favorite entry-level whiskeys. So it's definitely one worth checking out if you haven't. My entry-level pick is going to be Craigellachie 13. Alright, next up we're moving to the Irish category, and I'm sure a lot of you will not have seen this one coming. This one has an age statement. It's got a nice 46% ABV. I think it is a colored whiskey, but I like it enough that I'm willing to overlook that. Yeah, this one is probably the lightest and easiest in terms of character on this entire list, but I still wanted to include it. It's beautiful stuff. I'm talking about the Tyrconnell 16. Now this pick might be a little bit out of the blue because I don't think this is a very popular whiskey, even though it should be. I'm not an expert on Irish whiskey. I'm still kind of like broadening my horizons in that area. But if I'm being honest, this is one of the better Irish whiskeys I've had. It's such a light, bright, pleasant, easy sipper. We've got some gentle complexity here, and it does have some weight to it. Now, this doesn't taste the same, but I would say that this is kind of like Ireland's alternative to something like Glencaddam 15. Very different whiskey, but it scratches the same itch, if you know what I mean. We have like this fruity, floral character that I feel matches the season perfectly. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that they do have an Oloroso matured 16-year-old out there. It might be a finish or fully matured. I'm not sure. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the bourbon matured version. Excellent stuff. So my Irish pick for springtime whiskey, Tyrconnell 16. Next up is going to be our premium pick or our luxury pick. This is a whiskey that I reviewed not too long ago, and I absolutely loved it. It's from one of the best world distilleries out there, and it's very close to where I am now. It's about an hour's drive. I'm sure some of you have already figured out what I'm talking about. The distillery is Cavalan, and the expression I want to share with you guys is the Solist Bourbon. It's a cask strength whiskey. It's a beast of a whiskey. We have a fruity, woody, bourbony character here. It's not quite as like heavy or as brooding as some of their wine cask maturations. So from the Solist line, this is actually the lightest expression, and it's also the cheapest Solist expression the money can buy, which is also a good thing. And it's a stunning whiskey. We've also got the Kavalan House style here, which is very fruity, very tropical. Absolutely love that. One thing that I want to warn you guys about, though, is that some of these Solist bourbons are lighter and brighter and cleaner. Others are more wood forward and slightly heavier. This one is the latter. It is a little bit woodier and heavier, but it's not too much, and I still think it's a perfect springtime dram. So if some of you guys want to treat yourself to something more expensive and more intense, this is the perfect option. My premium pick is Kavalan Solist Bourbon. Next up, we're going with my 18-year-old pick, and this one is a little bit different. Most of my picks so far have been pretty bourbon forward, nothing peated, nothing too heavily sherried. Because it's springtime, I want to avoid like very heavy flavors. So it might come as a bit of a surprise to you guys that my 18-year-old pick is actually a peated one. I went with the Kalila 18. Peat, of course, is a stronger flavor, but this one works here. It's about as light and as gentle of a peated whiskey as you're ever going to try. The 18 years in the cask have rounded out a lot of that ruggedness. This is actually a very bright and elegant whiskey. And obviously that's not how we would usually describe Islay whiskeys. That lightness isn't going to be for everyone. But if you can tear yourself away from the peat monsters with the loud punchy flavors, if you want to relax with something a little bit more gentle and refined, I do think this is a great pick. So my 18-year-old option is going to be the Kalila 18. Alright, so my last pick, my limited edition pick, is a bottle that I've fallen in love with since I picked it up last year. And it's actually the first bottle that I've ever owned from this brand, and I am thoroughly impressed. So I'm going to have to change that moving forward. This is from a lowland distillery. I've got the Bladnoch 11 here. Man, this stuff is good. And no, before some of you ask, I did not try the 10-year-old release, which apparently was better than this one. But having tried the 11, I'm thoroughly impressed. Now, this is an annual release. I've got the 2021 bottle with me, and it's a brighter profile, but it's also got some serious weight behind it. It's a really interesting and unique whiskey. I'm not going to go into too much detail here. You'll have to wait for the full review on this one. But yeah, it's a very intriguing whiskey. It's herbal, it's floral. We have great spring flavors. We have great complexity in here. I'm really enjoying this bottle, and I think it's one of the more interesting buys that I've picked up over the last year or so. So definitely one I'm recommending. So my springtime pick for a limited edition whiskey, Bladnoch 11. Alright guys, that's it. That's the list. I hope you enjoyed it. And let's keep in mind, this is not any kind of definitive list. It's just 5 whiskeys that I have that I feel match the season. And they're whiskeys that I'll be drinking a little bit more of as the days get warmer. Now, obviously, I do want to hear from you guys too. And let's keep in mind, this is a super broad category. I mean, literally anything could be your springtime dram. It doesn't need to be a lighter whiskey. But yeah, let me know what you guys are drinking these days or what you think would be a good springtime whiskey. And finally, for those of you who stuck around to find out what my mystery pour is, I've got the Macallan 12 Double Oak. Now, this is a sherried whiskey, but it's definitely not a heavy whiskey. And of course, it couldn't be a heavy whiskey because it comes in at 40%. And I'll be the first to admit that is very disappointing, but I love these flavors. I realize it's a bit of a controversial pick, but it's one of those whiskeys that I A, enjoy, and B, drink more of as the days get warmer. So that's what I've got in my glass. And I think that's about it for today's video. So we'll do the usual Patreon and like and comment and subscribe stuff. We'll see you guys next time.